My name is Saqib, and I am the co-founder and the CPU at GMAT Wiz, and I'm also the principal architect of the GMAT Wiz course and the intelligence that is designed within the system. So those of you who have tried our course or our free trial, you might be aware of the fact that the course that we have created is a very personalized course, and it adapts to your learning depending on how good or how fast you want to learn. So I've been highly involved in creating that product, and those of you who haven't tried it yet, I would highly recommend trying the giving the free trial a shot. Apart from that, I've been in this industry for close to 10 years now, and I love teaching quant. In fact, I've taken GMAT myself. I have a Q15 quant, and those of you are aware of CAT, which is the Indian version of GMAT. I do have a 99 percentile in quant in CAT also. Okay, so that's briefly about myself. Let's talk a bit about how we are going to conduct this session. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend about 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the pace of the session, on the main topic, how you can solve PNC questions easily. And I'm going to take a mix of easy, medium, and hard questions, and the difficulty level will gradually increase depending, as and when we learn more new concepts. Since PNC is a concept which a lot of students are not really comfortable with, I have tried to include a little bit of basics also, so that you find the session useful and you're able to apply those concepts while solving those questions. But again, I'm not covering everything. I've tried to cover all different varieties of question, but the underlying theory behind it and those kind of things may not be covered elaborately. But I'll try my best to teach you everything as much as possible. And I'll keep the last 10 to 15 minutes at the end in case if you have any questions related to whatever we are doing in the webinar, or let's say if you have questions, regarding GMAT prep or quant prep in general, then please feel free to ask any questions that you may have at the end of this webinar. Okay, so any questions so far, feel free to ask. But before I start on the webinar, before I get into the main part of the webinar, I would want to know your experience so far with permutation combination. I would want to understand, what do you think is the biggest challenge when it comes to solving permutation combination questions? Anyone? And feel free to share anything. There's no right and wrong answer here. I just want to understand, when you are doing PNC questions, what kind of challenges do you face? Okay, I'll wait for another 10-15 seconds. You can type in a response in the chat box. Okay, Shobit says counting possible solutions, analyzing the number of cases. Aniruddha says it's very difficult. I get confused when 3 or more than 3 objects or things are involved. I get confused between permutation versus combination. Okay, Bikun is saying good day. Always get into dilemma about the demands of the question, whether it's PNC. Okay. So from what I can understand is one of the most common confusion is, and this is a very common confusion, is when to apply permutation and when to apply a combination, or when to use when to use the formula and when not to use formula, when to do simple counting. And frankly, I'll be very honest here, PNC was a permutation combination, such a topic which I think almost everyone dreads in some way or the other. Even I used to during my school, college days. I never used to like it, frankly speaking. But then slowly, gradually, I kind of developed this intuition and understanding on when and how to use permutation combination, and I'll try and share that with you as much as possible. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good point, Ibukun, that people do also face this problem, what to do when there are certain restrictions. And I do have questions based on numbers and on words where I have introduced restrictions, and I would try and explain how you can approach such questions. Okay, so according to me, Obviously, the first problem which all of you have mentioned is that the common confusion between permutation and combination, when to use what. The second confusion which I've seen people have is there are a lot of difficult questions, right, where you are creating different cases, different scenarios, and people usually end up making a mistake because they don't know after finding out all the scenarios, what should they do with that? Should they add up all the scenarios or should they multiply it? And that's a confusion that I would like to clear today also. Lastly, and I think, and this usually happens in most of the 700 level questions, is where you end up double counting. Now, I'm using the word double counting here, but what I really mean to say is that there's a mismatch in the count. So you may end up even undercounting it or overcounting it, but because of the gap in the understanding of what you need to use, whether you need to use permutation or combination, sometimes you may end up counting more or less number of cases. So it's very important to understand how to approach, how to minimize these kind of counting issues. Okay, now, so our solution in such cases is that we will try and avoid to use the formula as much as possible. So when I say try and avoid as much as possible is we'll try and use the simple method of counting as much as we can. And this, I would say, especially when we are doing a permutation question, it is better to use filling space method if you've heard of it. And only in very, very rare case scenarios would I be using a NPR or NCR formula, very rarely. But most of the questions, in fact, all questions can be done using counting, just to let you know. But there are certain cases, very rare cases, where you may have to use the formula, which would make sense. And that usually happens when we are usually doing combination. Permutation, usually you should be able to solve all questions by simply using the counting method and getting the answer. But yes, I do agree. The first thing that we need to do is understand the difference. Okay, now I'll come to the difference part, but in fact, the order is slightly, there's a mismatch here. Ideally, you should first of all understand when to add and multiply, because if you are counting and solving the questions, this takes up a lot of priority. And then you should also understand the difference between these two. So I'll start off with this first. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a very simple example, a very generic example, which is used most of the times to explain addition versus multiplication. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a case of paths. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're standing here at this place and you want to reach this place. Okay, you want to go to Y. Okay, and you see that to go from X to Y, you need to figure out in how many ways you can do that. Okay, now, obviously, it's very easy if we do the simple counting. Like I can say one way would be, if I number them, let me number them as, say, 1. In fact, let me not use numbers. Alphabets would be better. P, Q, R, S, T. Okay. Now, if I do manual counting, I can say I can go from X to Y using the path P comma Q. I'll go here and then I'll go here. The other way is to go from P and then take the root R. Or I can go from P to S like this. I go from here to here, then from here to here. And then finally, what I can do is I can take the path, P to T. So I take this path, and then I finally take this particular path. And there are no other possible ways. If you see, the number of ways in which I can go from X to Y is basically 4. Now, obviously, you don't need to do this manual counting. Once you understand the methodology of addition and multiplication, okay, you would be able to calculate these quickly. But now I just want to make you understand. So I'm doing manual counting here. Now let's again take W, X, Y, Z, and say, let's take this as, say, M. Okay. Now, understand this, that if I want to take the root X to B, okay, and if I want to count it manually, which again I would not recommend, I'll tell you what to do. I can say I'll take the root W, and then I can take the root Y, right? I can take the root W, and then I can go to Z, take the root W, then take M. And similarly, I can take XY, XZ, and XM. All these paths would help me go from X to Y using the path B, which total comes out to be 6, and which I have actually calculated here. But And if I want to find out the total ways from going from x to y, this turns out to be 10 because 6, 4. But how do I understand this? Now, some of you might be wondering, why did I not do, you know, 6 times 4? Why didn't I not do this? Or, okay, I understand that you're getting 4 by manually counting, but is there a better way of doing it? So the better way of doing it is, and I feel this works a lot, is to say it aloud what you're actually trying to do when you're going from x to y. Okay, and let's talk about just this path from x to y using path A. So what you would say is that if I want to go from x to y, I have to take the path xa, and this is very important to say the word and or aloud so that it's clear what you're doing. You'd say I'll take the path x to a, and I need from, if I want to go to y, then I have to take the path from a to y. Okay, then only will I be able to reach from x to y. Now, notice that to go from x to a, there's only one way, right? And if you want to go from a to y, there are 4 ways. This and signifies multiplication. So in permutation combination, just remember and is multiplication or is addition. So here I can say this is one way multiplied by 4 ways. This gives me directly 4. Okay. So I don't need to manually count the way I did it here. Similarly, if I want to go from x to y via b, then obviously I'll have to take the path x to b. And at the same time, I'll have to take the path b to y to reach y. Okay. Now from x to b, I can go in 2 ways. Okay, so this would be 2. And means multiplication. B to y means 3 ways. So 2 times 3 would give you 6. Okay. Now, as far as the confusion between adding and multiplying these two values that you get 4 and 6, what should you do? Then ask yourself, if you're going from x to y, you won't be simultaneously taking both the paths, right? There's no possible way to take simultaneously both the paths. You'll either be taking the route via a, or you would be taking the route via b, right? You won't be taking them together at the same time. So you would say either I'll be taking these 4 paths, or I would be taking these 6 paths. So since I'm doing this or this, I'll be taking route A or B. That is why the number of cases that I've got, I'll be adding them up, and I'll get my answer as 10. Okay. I hope this part is clear. I'll pause here for a moment. Let me bring up the yes and no poll. If this is perfectly clear, guys, please mark yes. Please mark yes if this is perfectly clear. Okay, great. So once again, to summarize, whenever you're solving a question where you have multiple cases, just ask yourself this question: do I need to do activity 1, task 1, and task 2? Is that necessary? Or do I need to do task 1 or task 2? What are they asking me to do? Okay, depending on the on whatever is being asked, you can change your sign to multiplication or addition. Okay. Now, let's come to the next part, which is counting. Now, I am jumping directly into the question. I would want you to give it a shot at this question and keep these 2 scenarios in mind. Okay, so I want you to try out this question. Those of you who haven't done PNC before, that's not a problem. You don't need to worry about it. I'll discuss it. But those of you who have done permutation combination before, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Try this out, and what you can do is, since you'll be getting 2 answers, you can post your answer in the chat box. Okay, but send me a private chat. Okay, don't send me the answers in a public chat. Just send it to me. There's an option to send to admin. Once you're done solving these 2, just send your response to me on the chat using the admin option. And you can take 2 minutes to do this, not a problem. Okay, I've already got a few answers. Okay, so far, most of the answers are correct. There are a few mistakes here and there. Shobit, you may want to check your second part of the answer. The first one is correct. Okay, let me check the other cases. Anubhav is saying without repetition, correct. Correct. 5 factor. Okay, good. So I can see that most of you know the answers to this one, which is good. The answers that all of you are giving is 120. And this case, you're giving 5 to the power 4. Some people made a mistake of saying 5 to the power 5, but then you have to keep in mind that you're working with 4-digit numbers. Okay. Now, some of you will ask this question, what should I do, right? Should I do permutation or should I do combination? I would say don't worry about it at this point of time. Obviously, if you want to figure out what you want to do, and those of you who aren't aware of the difference, I'm just letting you know of what's the difference between these two without giving the formula at this point of time, okay? So I'll start with combination. Combination is much more easy. Now, if say you are dealing with a question in which after selection, okay, after selection, you don't have to arrange, okay? You need to select things, but you don't need to arrange them, okay? Then you're dealing with combination. Okay, just to let you know this. I'll give you an example also, don't worry. Permutation is a case where you need to select something and arrange it also. Okay, so in scenarios where you need to select and arrange both, that's what is basically known as a permutation question. And in questions where you need to do just selection, no arrangement, is known as a combination question. Now, to give you an example, in fact, let me go back a bit. Okay, let me use this space only, not a problem. So to give you an example, the simplest example would be for combination would be, taking 3 people, say A, B, C are 3 people, okay? And I want to make groups of 2. Now, when I want to make a group of 2 people, then what you need to do is, Mohammed, I'll come to your question. I have that. I'm going to answer that question. Don't worry. Okay. So whenever group of 2 is, if you're asked this question, group of 2, then think in this way that you would make a group of AB, you would make a group AC, okay, and BC is possible, right? These are, you're just selecting two people at a time. Now think about it. Once you have made a group AB, you don't need to make the group BA again, right? Because both of these groups are the same. I'm not changing anything as such. Just reversing the order doesn't make any change in the group. The group still remains the same, right? Since the group remains the same and the order is not affecting the group, that then you can infer that you're dealing with a combination question. Okay, so whenever you're given a question, ask yourself, okay, after selecting whatever I need to select, on arranging them, will my answer change? Will I get different answers? If you feel that yes, different answers are possible, then you are doing permutation. If different answers are not possible, like in this case, just arranging them doesn't change my answer. It's still group. It's still a group which has A and B. You would say using permutation. A good example of permutation would be like 1, 2, and 3. They're like numbers. Numbers are very good examples to understand what permutation is. Now here, if I want to make groups of 2, a 2-digit number, I would make 1, 2, and once I make 1, 2, if I flip this, you can understand, right? Flipping it would give me a different number. 12 is another number, 21 is a different number. So after selecting 2 things, when I arrange them, okay, if an arrangement I get 2 different results, then that is an indication that you have to use permutation, or you are doing a question which is based on permutation. Okay, similarly, if I select 2, 3, okay, and if I arrange them, 3, 2, and 2, 3 are 2 different numbers, so this is again an indicator that you are doing a permutation question. So just the only thing that you need to keep in mind is, and this is something which not everybody says, a lot of people are just taught that combination is selection, permutation, and arrangement. That is what most of you learn, but that's not a good way of learning it. A better way of learning it in this way is to think that in combination, yes, only selection is happening. That means arrangement is not happening. So if you say it aloud, you would be able to understand that, okay, I don't need to do arrangement in this case. But in permutation, you select. Without selecting, you cannot arrange anything. Think about it. So in permutation, both selection and arrangement both happens. In combination, just selection happens. Arrangement does not make any sense. Okay. Now, as I told you, I won't be using any PNC formula at this point of time to solve the questions. I'll use the concept of counting to get most of my answers. So, and this was just to help you identify which one, whether you're using permutation or combination. So I have a question where I'm dealing with numbers, right? A 4-digit number. So if you're really interested in knowing whether this is a permutation combination question, you can ask yourself, after selecting any 4 digits, if I change the order in any way, will I get different answers? Well, the answer is yes, right? You will get different answers. So that means indirectly you're using you're solving a permutation question. Okay. Now, as I told you, I would be solving this question just using the concept of counting and an or. So if I see a 4-digit number, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 4 spaces, and I'll say to myself, I need to fill these 4 spaces. Okay, and I need to fill this space, the first place, and the second place, and the third place, and the fourth place. I need to fill all these 4 places. Only then will I be able to get a 4-digit number. It doesn't make sense to fill just these 3 spaces. If I don't fill up this space, I will have a 3-digit number. I won't have a 4-digit number. Okay. So this and signifies that I need to basically find out in how many ways I can fill each space and then multiply them. That is the reason we multiply it. Okay. Now think in this way, that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. Okay, so if there are 5 digits, the first place can be filled in 5 ways, right? The first place can be filled with any of these 5 digits. Okay, now this can be filled in 5 ways, but obviously I've been using just putting one of them at a time, right? I won't be putting all 5 in one go, so I'll be using one thing. So how many digits are left after filling the first space? I'll be left with 4 of them. So the second place can be filled in 4 ways. Again, one of them has been used. How many am I left with? I'm left with 3. So this will be filled in 3 ways, and the last place can be filled in 2 ways, and this would give you 120. Okay, this is without repetition. That means I'm not using any digit anymore. Now, in the second case, which is with repetition, when I say with repetition, what I mean is I can use any digit as many times as I want. So if I fill the first space in 5 ways, and again, keep in mind, I need to fill all those 4 spaces. So I'm putting a multiplication sign here. So if I've used a digit here, it doesn't matter anymore because I can repeat the digits as many times as I want. So the second place also can be filled in 5 ways. Okay, because I can again use all of these digits I want. The third can be filled in 5 ways, and the fourth also can be filled in 5 ways. So my answer turns out to be 5 to the power 4. Okay. Now, as far as how these questions will be presented in the exam, this is the way it would be written in the exam. So if you see a question stem which says how many 4-digit numbers with distinct digits can be formed using 1, 2, 1, 3, 6, 8, 9, then you should be able to understand that you are solving a question which is based on without repetition. But if nothing is given, if the question is simply says how many 4-digit numbers can be formed using the digit 1, 3, 6, 8, 9, then you can say that in this case, since no restriction is given, that means I can use the digits as many times as I want, and hence in this case, I would use repetition to solve the question. Okay, so I hope this is also clear how the question stem would be formed. If this is clear, please mark yes. And Chirag, don't worry, I'll be increasing the difficulty level slowly and steadily. You have to understand there are a lot of students out here who want to understand these basics also. I don't want to jump directly into difficult questions. Okay, but I will do difficult ones, don't worry. Okay, great. So I can see it's clear to everyone. So let's move on to the next question. If you've understood this should not take you a lot of time to do. I'll give you 1.5 minutes to do this one. This is pretty easy. It is based on the same concept that we discussed now. So just give it a shot and mark your answers in the poll now. So I've added a poll and there are 5 options. Okay, good thing is that 90% of you have got the correct answer. I'm ending the poll now. Okay, so in this case also, you need to draw 4 spaces like this, okay? And you need to count how many digits have been given. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 digits with you. 6 numbers have been given to you, okay? Important thing is to always figure out whether repetition is allowed or not. You need to figure that out. It's given not allowed. So that means you can use each digit only once. So you have 6 numbers. So the first place can be filled in 6 ways. The second can be filled in 5, third and fourth, and the fourth place in 3 ways. And you just need to multiply this to get your answer, which comes out to be 360. So the correct answer in this case is going to be 360. Okay, so which almost all of you got it correct, which is good. But those of you made a mistake, I hope it's clear now. What are we doing to solve this question? Okay, this is like the most simplest question, frankly speaking, a very rare chance of coming in the exam. But now let's bring in the constraints, because I think things get confusing when we have constraints to solve the question. So here's the first question, which is based on certain constraint. Read it carefully and then mark your answer in the poll that I'm going to add now. Sort of whenever we do the classes on so on Fridays, basically, we do it at 8:30 p.m. IST. So are you trying to say that you want it a bit earlier? We do 7 p.m. IST only during the weekends. Last 30 seconds, guys. Okay, I can see there's a little bit of confusion between two options. So again, whatever time that is left, 20 seconds, do read the question carefully. Ravi, there is a poll. If you cannot see, then you can send me a private chat. That's not a problem, but people are marking in the poll. So if you joined just now, maybe that's why you might not be able to see the recent poll. Post that you should be able to see it. Okay, guys, I'm ending the poll now. Okay, so I can see that the confusion is between B and D. And this is mostly because of a small word that maybe that you missed out in this question. So keep in mind that you have to read it very carefully. Here in this question, we are asking distinct, which is good, which means that no repetition. Okay, that's one point. I'm looking for 4-digit numbers, so very quickly draw 4 spaces. Okay, but the important point that you need to keep in mind is that we are looking for even numbers. So that's the constraint that we are talking about here. So far, the numbers that we were forming did not have any constraint. We could form any numbers possible. We did not have to worry about what we are putting at each place. Okay, but when the moment I put a constraint even number, that means there's a restriction in the last place, what I put in the last place. Okay, so I have to be careful about it. Now, can anyone tell me what's the condition? How do I check whether a number is even or not? Can anyone tell me how do we check whether a number is even or not? Last digit even, right? So the last, when you say the last digit even, what you're going to do is you're going to look at these numbers, okay, and see which numbers are even. So you can see 2, 4, and 8. You have 3 options for the last place. So whenever there's a constraint, what you can do is you can fill this up first, because that's the easiest way to take care of the constraint. So you can say the last place can be filled in 3 ways. Okay, so that way the constraint is taken care of. You don't have to worry about the last place anymore. Okay, now obviously, as I told you, I'm saying that the last place can be filled in 3 ways, but you're putting one number at a time. So you have put one of those numbers. How many if you're left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So the first place can be filled in 5 ways. The second, now there are no restrictions here on these 3 places. So you can fill it in whatever way you want. So I'm saying this can be filled in 5 ways. The second place can be filled in 4 ways. And the third place can be filled in 3 ways, which basically gives you 20 times 9, which is 180. So the correct answer in this case is going to be option B. Okay. If you have any doubts, please ask. Hitakshi, you are correct, but keep in mind when they ask you how many even numbers are formed, okay, can be formed, you need to just use the numbers that are given to you, okay? You cannot use, though the last place can also be filled with 0, but we won't be taking 0 or 6 both, we won't be taking that, okay? If this is clear, guys, please mark yes. Okay, great. Now let's make this a little bit more interesting. In fact, I don't have options for these, but I think it would be a good practice. If I ask you how many distinct 4-digit numbers can be formed using these digits only, let's keep these digits, okay? That are formed. If no digits occur in the number more than once, and the 4-digit number is divisible by 4. Can you try this one? Obviously, the answers won't be this. So if you want to give me your answer, you can give your answer in the chat box. Okay. If anyone has any doubt here, please feel free to ask. I can see about 10% of you saying that it's not clear. Whatever is not clear, please ask. I'll reiterate once the original question, that if the constraint is given, make sure that you fix the constraint first. Take care of the constraint first. So if I know the last place can be filled in only 3 ways, you fill it in 3 ways. You had 6 digits. You'll be using one of them to fill this space. So you'll be left with 5 digits. And the first 3 are filled in the same sequence that we were filling before also. So first place can be filled in 5, then you'll be left with 4 digits, you will fill it in 4, and the last place can be filled in 3. Okay. Those of you who have understood, you can try out this question. So we are looking for 4-digit numbers without repetition. You are using these 6 digits, but the condition that is given to you is that these 4-digit numbers should be divisible by 4. And you can give your answer in a private chat, please. Okay. Arjun, the question doesn't say that even numbers should be unit, but that's a definition of an even number. And even numbers are numbers whose unit place is, even. I hope that answers your query, Arjun. Ibukun, I hope it's clear now. Saurabh, you can watch. Someone's asking if there would be a redoing of this event. If you're not able to watch the webinar, what you can do is you can watch this webinar on our YouTube channel. I'm just sharing the YouTube channel link. We usually upload these webinars on our YouTube channel. So I just shared it. I'm broadcasting it too. So if you want to watch it later on, you can watch it using this link. Okay. Arjun, even numbers are numbers whose last place, a number is called an even number. Like let's say if I say A, B, C, D is an even number, it would be an even number only when the last place is even. Okay. And what are even numbers? Even numbers are 2, 4, even digits. Single digit numbers could be 0, 2, 4, 8, and 6. Okay. These are the digits that should be in the last place of that number. So whatever numbers I form, I have to ensure that the last place is either of these 5. Now in this question, I've been given these 3 even numbers, 2, 4, 8. So if I want to form an even number, I'll have to ensure that the last place gets filled by either of these 3 and nothing else. I cannot have a number like this, like 1, 2, say 5, 7. This is not an even number because the last place is odd here. So I won't call this as an even number. Okay. I hope it's clear now. So I have to ensure the last place is either 2, or the last place is either 4, or the last place is either 8. Then only we can call it an even number. Okay. Now, people have given me responses for the 4, the question that I've asked. I can see different answers. I can see 120, 360, 24, 72. A lot of people are saying 72, even 240, 84 also. Okay. Arjun, they can occupy other spaces. As I said, out of 248, I'm just putting one of them at a time. Okay. So you don't have to worry about it. No, you don't have to worry about negative numbers. Unless and until mentioned, something is explicitly mentioned like that, then you'll have to worry about it. Otherwise, when you're solving a question, you'll always assume as in that the question is just talking about positive numbers. Okay. Chiranjeev, I'll come to those kind of questions also. In fact, the next question would be dealing slightly with what you're talking about. Okay, so I can see most of the, yes, by definition, even numbers can be negative. If that's your question, yes. By definition, even numbers can be negative. By definition, odd numbers can also be negative. Okay, so there are negative, even, and odd numbers both. But in permutation combination question, unless until something like this is mentioned, which they never do, you don't have to worry about it. If they want you to consider negative numbers, they will tell you very explicitly to do so. But frankly, in my opinion, in my experience, I've never seen a question like that. Okay. But you can get a negative even odd question in number properties question, definitely. Okay, so I can see various answers. So I just want to tell you a small way in which you can, solve this question methodically and make sure that you don't miss out on any case. Now, can anyone tell me what's the divisibility rule of 4? How do I know whether a number is divisible by 4 or not? Okay, Shobit, I got the answer. That's 84. But can you tell me, how do I know? Okay, good. Last two digits should be divisible. Very good. So all of you know this. Very good. The last two digits must be divisible by 4. That's a definition of a number divisible by 4. Those of you are not aware of it, I would highly recommend going through, the divisibility video lesson of number properties. We have discussed all the divisibility rules there. So now a lot of people, what I've seen is that they put numbers randomly here. They fix numbers like this. So they'll say, okay, the last place can be 72, or they will say, okay, the last place maybe can be 24, and they try and find out these numbers randomly, which I am not a good, I don't feel that's a good method. So ideally what you should do is you should try and make cases. Okay, think in this way, that if I want the last two digits to be divisible by 2, start off with the smallest number and place it here. Okay, fix it. Okay, say that you'll be putting 1 here. Now the best way would be to look at it like this. When you fix something, put it in a box so that you don't accidentally multiply it. So if I put a 1 here, what should I put here so that it becomes divisible by 4? I'll have to put 2, right? So the last digit can be 12. Okay, I'll again take 1 and think, okay, can I put anything else here? Ideally, I can put a 6 here, but I don't have a 6 with me. So obviously with 1 in this place, I cannot frame any other number. So the last two digits can be 12 and 1 cannot be formed, can be used anymore, at least in this place. So I'll go to the next highest one, which is 2. Okay, and if I put 2 here, this place can have, so the last two digits can be 20, 24, 28. But notice I don't have a 0 with me. So what I'll say is that the last place can have a 4 here, and the last place can also, with 2 at this place, can have an 8 here. Okay, nothing else can be formed with 2 at this place. So I'll again say, okay, fine. If nothing else can be formed, let me take the other, let me fix 4, because that's the next highest number. So you fix 4 here, and then you think, what should I put here? So the last two digits, if the last two digits is 40, 44, 48, then the whole number would be divisible by 4. So what you're going to do is you can say, okay, a repetition is not allowed, so I cannot use these. So the last two digits can be 48 also. Nothing else can be formed. Then you move to the next highest one, which is 5. With 5, you can just put 2 here, 52, nothing else, because nothing else would work. With 7, again, you can have a 72, but you cannot have a 76 because 6 is not there. And then with 8, you can have 84 also. Okay, but you cannot form any other number. And I have taken all of them one by one in this the second in this place, in the 10th place. So I'm also ensuring that I'm not missing out on any cases. This is important, guys, because see, maybe if the number of cases are less, you may be able to figure out all of them. But if there's a good chance that you might miss out anything in the exam in a hurry. So it's best to start off sequentially like this. Okay, and keep in mind, when I'm putting a box, I mean these are fixed. I'm not going to change this. So like in the first case, if I've already chosen 1, 2, it's fixed here, I would say, okay, I need to fill these 4 spaces, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. So the first place can be filled in 4 ways, and the second place can be filled in 3 ways. So all the numbers which have 1, 2 at the last place is going to be 4 times 3, which is going to be 12. Okay. So there I can form 12 numbers whose last 2 digits is going to be 12. Okay. Now, logically, you don't need to solve the others. All of them are going to be 12 only, because think about it. If you fix 2 and 4, you still have 4 digits with you. So this is also going to be filled in 4 ways. This is also getting filled in 3 ways. So this will be 12. So all of these would be 12. Now, this is where the question comes into picture. Do you need to do, obviously, do 12 times 12 times 12, or do you need to do 12 plus 12 plus 12? Now, these are all unique cases. Either the last two places will be 12, or the last two places can be 24, or the last two places can be 28. So all of these cases are, basically you're adding them up. So you're doing 12 plus 12 plus 12. How many times? How many cases do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 7 cases. So you're basically adding 12 7 times, which is basically, you can directly write it as 12 times 7, which is going to be 84. So you can say there are 84 numbers that are divisible by 4. Please let me know if this is clear or not. I'm adding a poll, yes and no poll. Please mark yes if this is clear. So if they want to give you a 600 level question, they might give you an even number. If they want to increase the difficulty level a bit, then they might get a question which is based on a higher difficulty level, like a divisibility rule of 4 or 3 or something like that. Okay, 3 is also very rare. It's usually 2 and 4, because these cases are slightly easier to find. Okay, I can see about 95% of you are saying that this is clear, so which is good. I can see 4% of you are saying no. If there's any question, please feel free to ask in the chat box. In the meantime, this is the fastest, okay? So if you're looking, as I have a query here saying, is there a faster way to solve a question like this? Frankly speaking, if you try and look at it randomly, you're going to take a lot of time. Okay, so I can see people are saying that this is time consuming. No, unfortunately, this is not time consuming. If you do, since I'm explaining it to you, it seems time consuming. But think about it. What am I doing? I know that I need to make 4-digit numbers. So I am just making sure that I need to start from the smallest one. So yes, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times for each number. But in this, ensure that no cases are missed. You'll never miss out a case if you go like this. But if you do randomly, if you randomly think, okay, 12, 24, 40, 48, there's a good chance that you might miss some of the cases, or, those kind of things can happen. Like some of the people did mention 72 as the answer or something like that. So that means they missed some cases. Okay. So long story short, to answer your question, this is the fastest way that you can get this answer. And keep in mind, in GMAT, if you get a 700 level question, some people are asking this is 700 level or not. Yes, this is definitely 700 level. In those cases, it is okay to spend slightly more time, because in easy and medium questions, you would be saving some time. So these are used out here only. Okay. So I hope it's clear, Shruti. I am not sure what do you mean by case 2 can be 4 times 2 times 2. Why will that be? I'm fixing 2 and 4. Keep in mind, I'm fixing 2 and 4. Okay, it's a unique case, and I have 1, 5, 7, 8, all 4 digits with me, which I can place in the first and the second place. So I'm placing 4 in the first. I'm choosing one of the 4 out here in the first place, and then I'll still be left with 3 of them. So I'll put 3 multiply by 3 in the second place. Okay. And filling space method is the fastest, believe me. Okay, let's add another constraint. This is a different kind of a constraint, but it's a good one. Those of you who haven't done these questions like these before might find this interesting. And I've added a poll. This is, by the way, a 600 level question, not a 700 level, but there's a constraint in this one also. Put the answer in the chat box. I would request you not to do that. If you want to do it, please put it in a private chat. Okay. The poll, put the answer in the poll. Just be patient about 30-40 seconds, and then we can discuss it. Shruti, that's okay, Jay. That's totally okay. Not a problem. Shruti, I'm still not sure what you mean by this can be the last 2 places by 4 and 8. I'm not sure what you mean by 4 and 8. I have taken the case of 4 and 8 before also, so I don't need to worry about those cases. 48 is already taken care of. This will also be 12 cases out here, if that is what you're asking. Okay, guys, I'm ending the poll now. I've given enough time, and the poll has also stabilized a bit. So let me end the poll. 73% of you think the answer should be B. Now, can anyone tell me, what do I mean? What kind of constraint is given here? I don't have an even number or anything written out here. So what's the problem with this question? No even number. I'm simply asking repetition not allowed, very well clearly given, 4-digit numbers to be formed. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits. Okay. So what kind of constraint is creating a problem here? First digit cannot be 0. Very good. Yes, very good. So the first digit cannot be 0. Thankfully, in this case, there's only one constraint. I'll give you a question where there'll be two constraints simultaneously, but the only constraint is that 0 cannot come in the first place. It can come any place else also, but not in the first place. So for the first place, you have to think in this way. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. That is 6 numbers. So the first place can be filled in only in 6 ways. Okay, that's important to understand. Now, once again, keep in mind that obviously you're using one of the digits, not all of them at the same time. So how many are you left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, don't put 5 here. Remember, after that, I don't have any constraint on 0. 0 can come at any place after that. So you'll once again say, okay, after fixing whatever I need to fix in the first place, I once again have 6 options with me. So the second place can be filled in 6 ways. Again, one of the digits have been used. This can be filled in 5 ways, and the last place can be filled in 4 ways. So the total result in this case is going to be 36 times 20, which is 720. Okay. Is this part clear, guys? This was an easy one. But if you still have any doubts, feel free to ask. If this is clear, please mark yes. Especially those of you who made a mistake. I hope it's clear now what we are doing. This is just the tricky part is just here. Oh, oops. The tricky part is just here, nothing else. Okay, great. I can see it's clear to everyone. So let's move on to the next one. Try out this one, guys. And be careful in this one because now you have two constraints simultaneously. Last 10 seconds, and I'm going to end the poll. Once again, I can see there's confusion between two options. But the good part is nobody's marking way off different answers at this point of time, which is good. Okay, I'm ending the poll now. So I can see that most of you think that the answer should be B, and I have a few of you who think the answer should be C. So 60, but majority of you think it should be B itself. So can you tell me what constraint am I talking about? What are the two constraints that is causing a problem here? What two constraints are we talking about here? Anyone? Shobit says 0 being picked at last and not being picked. Okay, let me define it a bit. So what you mean to say is that either 0 can be at the last place or 0 can be at some other place except the first place. I think that would be a better way of explaining it, because 0 can be at the second and third place also. Even number and the number 0 in the first place. First digit can't be 0, last digit should be even. Good. So see, whenever there's a confusion like this, that, there are two constraints. One is obviously without repetition, and these two constraints at the same time, that 0 cannot be in the first place and the number has to be even. And when you see a situation where, a common number affects both these places, like in this case, 0, the placement of the 0 can change the number of ways in which you can get, frame even numbers. So for example, if I place a 0 here, just giving a hypothetical example, if I put a 0 here, then the first place can be filled with any of these digits, not a problem, no issues at all. But if I'm not putting a 0 here, okay, I'm putting the 0 somewhere else, then obviously 0 cannot come at this place. I have to ensure that. If I use 2, 4, and 8 here, then I need to make sure that 0 doesn't come at this place. So whenever the trigger point that you need to keep in mind is that if a number creates a situation based on which your answer might differ, or the number of items that can be placed in a particular gap, if a particular space changes, then that's an indication that you need to create different cases and solve the question. Okay, that's an indication that you need to create different cases. Please keep this in mind. So what do I mean by cases? So what I mean by cases is that you kind of fix, you kind of fix the place, okay? So you say, okay, let me create a case where I'm sure that 0 is at the last place. I'm fixing it. I'm saying 0 needs to come here only, nowhere else. I need an even number, 0 can be at the last place. So now I don't need to worry about 0 anymore because it is safely put in the last place. So, and once I do that, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers and 6 digits, which I can freely place wherever I want to. So I can say the first place can be filled in 6 ways, the second can be filled in 5 ways, the third can be filled in 4 ways. And this basically gives me 120 ways. So there are 120 numbers which end with 0. Okay. The second case obviously is that 0 is not at the last place. Okay, if 0 is not at the last place, and if I need an even number, then the last place can be filled with 2, 4, or 8. So the last place can be filled in 3 ways. Okay, that's very important to understand. Okay, now obviously, as I told you, we don't fill all, or you don't put all of them in one go. So you must have used one of them. Okay, let's say you have used 2. Now let's think about the other places. But 0 is not at the last place, so I have to be careful what I put in the first place. Okay, now how many digits do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I cannot use all 6 of them. 0 cannot be at the first place. So I'll say the first place can be filled with any of the 5 numbers. Okay, either 1 or 4 or 5 or 7 or 8, any of these 5. Okay, again, I've used one of them. Let's say we have used one. Now, when I'm filling the second and the third, once again, the way we did in the previous question, we can bring back 0. We can say, hey, now there's no restriction on 0. So the second place can be filled with any of these 5 numbers, and the third place can be filled with 4 ways. So 25 times 4 is 100, times 3 is 300. So this turns out to be 300 ways. And obviously, you cannot have both these cases at the same time. So either you'll have case 1 or case 2, right? And so you'll say 120 plus 300. There are total 420 numbers that can be formed, which are even. Is this part clear? Is the learning clear in this question, guys? Please mark if this is clear. I'm summarizing the learning once again. So whenever you come across a PNC question with double restrictions, and you know one of the restrictions will change the number of ways in which you place numbers. Like in this case, I knew the placement of 0 would decide what I'll put in the starting point. And that's an indicator, that's a trigger point for you to keep in mind that you need to create cases to solve the question. Then you create separate cases, making sure that you fix 0 the way you need to fix it, and then you solve the question. So you'll never make a mistake in such questions. Okay, I hope this is perfectly clear, guys. And who was asking level of this question? This is close to a 650 level question. Okay, let me end the poll and let's move ahead. So this you've already discussed. Just before we move on to the next question, guys, I just want to make a small announcement. Now, if you are attending these webinars and if you are enjoying these webinars, I just wanted to make an announcement and let you know that we are starting our crash course soon. Now, these are like the webinars that I'm conducting, but the difference in these crash courses is that along with the course access that you get, which has, all the comprehensive video lessons, 4,000 questions, all the mocks that you need. Obviously, the personalization is there. Apart from that, you also get 25 live sessions. Okay, so if you're interested in, and if you're liking this session, and if you want, to practice more questions like these, then you should definitely try and enroll for the next batch, which is starting on the 26th of June. So we will conduct 25 online sessions, and it is going to be an 11-week program where, along with the video lessons, we are also going to provide you these live classes. And obviously the discussion there are the questions that we discuss are obviously high quality questions that we do in those cases. So if you're interested in knowing more about the crash course, or in general, if you're interested about knowing about GMAT Wiz and how it can help you, I would say you should. I'm sharing my Calendly link with you. You can book a session with us, and these calls are free, by the way. You don't have to worry about it. And then we can discuss how GMAT Wiz can help you. Ace GMAT. This batch is. My bad, guys. This would be 17th. This is the old batch. My bad. This would be 17th July. The 26th batch is obviously started, but a new batch is starting on the 17th of July, guys. So in just another, I would say 7 to 8 days, we are going to start this. So if you're interested in joining the new batch on the 17th of July, and this is for both quant and verbal. So these 25 sessions include 12 sessions of quant, 12 sessions of verbal, and there's a one strategy session also there included in this session. And this, especially if you're targeting close to round one, if you want to, solve more questions, learn. The best part about what I'll say about crash course is that you learn the methodology, which I think is very important, how to approach 700 level question. I think that's the key thing which a lot of people face a problem with. And when you see it doing live and when you solve questions at the same time as the mentor, I think that helps you understand where you need to fix your approach. So as I said, I've shared my Calendly link. I'm resharing it again. If you want to talk to us, and know more about the crash course that's starting on the 17th of July, then kindly book a session with us. Apart from this, guys, I'm also sharing the link of the crash course, just in case if you want to know more details about the crash course, you can look at the web page also. Okay. Okay, guys, so let me move on to the next question. And once again, if you have questions regarding the crash course, you can very well ask me at the end of the webinar also. That's not a problem. But I would highly recommend, considering this if you really want to improve quickly. Okay, so here's the next question. So far, what we had discussed was questions based on just numbers, all the different varieties, numbers involving 0, numbers involving even, odd, numbers involving, divisibility of 4. Now let's look at certain questions where you need to work with numbers. And this is the first one, guys. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Just one small thing to keep in mind is that there's not much of a difference when it comes to solving questions using filling space, whether it be a question which is based on letters and alphabets, or whether it's based on numbers. The process still remains the same. The best part about alphabets, by the way, is that you don't have to worry about a 0. Like in numbers questions, you have to still worry about 0 and all those stuff. That's not here. But you can still get constraints as the one presented in this one. So take your time. I'll give you 2 minutes to solve this, and then we'll start the discussion. I'm going to end the poll. Unfortunately, I'll be going at the pace which I think the webinar can go. So if you want to practice more high-level questions, I would encourage you to use Quizlet if you want to. And as far as I remember, you've attended this webinar before also. So if you are finding the questions similar, then it's better to use your time solving questions from the question bank. Okay, guys, last 10 seconds. Okay, I'm ending the poll now. So I can see that the confusion is between A and D in this case. Can anyone tell me what's the approach? What approach did you use to solve this question? Did you do something like this? Did you club A and E? And did you take S, T, P, L to solve the question, something like this? Or did you use some other approach to get the answer? What did you do? That's totally fine, Anubhav. If you're finding this very easy, then I can show you can find difficult questions in the question bank of Quizard. I would recommend you to try that. But I clearly remember you attending this webinar before also, so I'm sure you know all of these before. Okay, Arpita says A to the left of E means is it AE together? That's a good question, Arpita. That is where most of the confusion is. Subtract the number of cases where E were on the extreme left. No, Joysha, that won't work. Rajavi says club A and E. Hitakshi says it should be D, right? Half of the cases. That's a good logic, Hitakshi. You can use that if you want to. Fixed AE for all. Okay. So that's the reason I gave this question, because I think this is the confusion that most of you face. So I want to, clear this, that you need to understand the difference between A is always to the left of E and A is, to the, or always to the immediate left of E. There is a difference between these two. Now, the moment I say that A is to the immediate left of E, then that means A and E need to be together like this. Okay, you need to treat them as one entity. Okay, you can treat them as one entity. And what you can do is you can now think of this question. Now I'm talking about A is to the immediate left of E. Okay, I'm not talking about the original question. I'm just telling you that you might make this mistake. So read carefully. If the word immediate is given, then only club these two. And then think in this way that you're dealing with just 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then you can fill this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because AE, wherever they go, they'll always be placed like this only, intact, wherever you make them sit. Okay, so it's like thinking that this is just one alphabet wherever it needs to be placed. So in this case, I agree the answer would be 120. Okay, but the question doesn't say immediate left. The question says A is to the left of E. In that case, there are various kind of scenarios. Like you could have E here, A here, or A here, or A here. All of these are possible. In fact, you could have E at this place and A could be here. A could be here, any of these places. So left means just left. You can place it anywhere that you want to. Now, there are various ways to solve it, but I'm going to talk about just the generic way first and then come to a shortcut that you can use in these cases. The one which was pointed by Hidakshi, which is a good way of solving question. But let's just say you're not sure what's going to happen. How do you go about using a shortcut to do it? You can think in this way, that you just fix the position of E. You make cases, because once again, depending on which case you take, the answer would change. So it is best to make case and think in this way, that, okay, let me place E at this place. Let me place E at this place. Let me place E at this place. Okay. Let me place E at this place. And let me place E at this place. Okay, so E can be placed at any of these places. And then obviously I cannot put E at the starting place, because then there will be no place for A to be to the left of E. That is why I'm not taking that case. But these are the cases that you can think of. Okay, now what you do is you think in this way, that let's think about A first. Okay, now A can be placed, if E is here, if I fix E here, then A can be placed either here or here or here or here or here, right? So A can be placed in 5 ways. Okay, any of these 5 places, you don't know which one, but it will fill any of the 5 spaces. Okay, so let's think in this way. Let's hypothetically think that A is placed here. Okay, this box is filled by A. Okay, now how many places are left? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many alphabets are left to place? 4. So now this is the same as normal filling space method, right? You can say this place can be filled in 4 ways, this can be filled in 3 ways, this can be filled in 2 ways, and this can be filled in 1 way. So you will 5 ways for placing A, and 4, 3, 2, 1 ways to place the remaining 4 letters in the 4 spaces that are left after placing A and E. So this 5 takes care of the various ways in A can be placed in these 5 spaces. Once I have placed A, the remaining 4 spaces can be filled in any of the 4 ways. I'm reiterating this because it's very important for you to understand that. Now, when E is at this place, when I fix E at this place, A obviously cannot come at this place. So A can be either here, 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 or here. So A can be placed in 4 ways in either of these 4 spaces. Let's once again think that A has been placed here. Doesn't matter where we place it. But once we place A, what's going to happen is we'll always be left with 4 spaces. After placing A and E, there's always 4 space. So those 4 space and these 4 letters can always be filled in 4, 3, 2, 1 ways. Okay, I'll pause here. Please let me know if this part is clear, because for the remaining 3 also I'm going to do the similar thing. So please let me know if this is clear or not. So 5 tells you in how many ways can you place A, and then you, after placing A and E, you're left with 4 spaces and you have 4 letters. So 4 spaces can be filled in the similar way that we did in numbers question, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. I can see it's clear to everyone, which is okay. About 10% of you are saying it's not clear. Can you please let me know what's not clear? If anything is not clear, please let me know quickly before I move on to the third case. I'll wait for 30 seconds. If I don't see anything in the chat, then I'll resume my discussion. Okay, Chinji, you can fix A and E, but you can understand that there are various cases. If you do it manually, there are a lot of cases. Just to give you an idea, think about it. If you fix A and E, you could keep on doing it. You could place E here, then A here, then you would make another case like E here, A here. You'll keep on doing that. But why do that? Think of it in this way: there is A and E. Wherever they go, wherever you put them, there'll always be 4 spaces left for you. And these 4 spaces always need to be filled with STPL. So STPL can always be filled in 4 factorial ways. Yeah, I'll come to the shortcut. Don't worry. I will give you a shortcut. Don't worry about it. But you need to understand the counting way, and keep in mind you'll never get more letters. You'll always get 5 letters, 6 letters. You never get a 10-letter word, and they'll never ask you to solve a question like this. Don't worry about it. Okay. But you need to understand what is happening. Why is it happening? Okay. So if you fix E at this place, the A can be filled in any of these 3 spaces. If you fix A, Chiranjeev, then you need to think about where you need to put E. Because let's say you're doing the same thing, but you are doing it in a different way. So if you fix A, say for example here, okay, then when you're placing the other things, you have to ensure that E doesn't come at this place. How can you ensure that? You can ensure that by first deciding where you need to put E. E can be put in any of these 4 spaces. Okay. Once you have fixed E at some place, then you'll again be left with 4 spaces. So if you just fixed A and then solved everything else, then yes, it's a slightly wrong approach. Yeah, Chiranjeev, you're doing the same thing which I am doing. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing which I am doing. That's correct. What you have written is correct. Okay. So guys, think in this way. Let's look at the third case. I hope it should be clear. Once you have put E here, A should be the left of E. So A can be here, A can be here, A can be here. So A can be placed in 3 ways. And once you place A, wherever you place it, you are blocking a space, okay? Once you place it, then you'll be left with 4 spaces once again. 4 spaces, 4 letters. So if you notice the pattern, you can see that 4, 3, 2, 1 is always there. And what is happening is the number of places in which A can be placed is decreasing. So in this case, the fourth case that you have, A can be placed in only 2 ways. So this is basically 2 times 4, 3, 2, 1. A can be placed in only 1 way, and these are 4 spaces left. So 1 times 4, 3, 2, 1. And 4, 3, 2, 1 is 24. So you can simply say you have 5 times 24, 4 times 24, 3 times 24, 2 times 24 and 1 times 24. Again, I'm showing you this method. Keep in mind, just in case you don't know what to do in the exam, you can always count. Counting can help you get the answer. There is a shorter way of doing it. I'll talk about it, so don't worry. You can take 24 common, you'll get 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is equal to 24 times 5 times 6 times 2. Okay, so you end up getting the answer as 360. Okay, so this is one way of doing this question, but I can understand that this is a lot to do in the exam. But if you don't know anything, if this comes in your first 15 questions, and if you don't know the step, you should use filling space to get the answer. Now coming to how you can solve this question using another approach. Okay, now the best way to solve this question is to think in this way. See, if there is no restriction at all on this 6 words, STAPLE, if there is no restriction at all, how many words can you form? The first place can be filled in 6 ways. The second can be filled in 5 ways. Third can be filled in 4 ways, 3 ways, 2 ways, 1 ways. So total 720 ways, right? Without restriction, any restriction at all. But what are they saying? They're saying A should be to the left of E. Okay, A needs to be the left of E. Now think logically, whatever words you are forming, let's say the word staple, there would be an exact opposite word in which E and A must be replaced, exchanged like this, right? Whatever 720 words you have, for each word like this, STPALE, you would have a similar word with everything else is fixed, but these two get exchanged, right? So can you say that out of these 720 cases that you have here, in half of them, the word A and E would be flipped. And I don't want the flipped case. I just want the original case, which is there. So to find out my actual answer, I just need to divide it by 2 so that I remove those cases where the word has been flipped, where E is instead of A to the left of E is to the left of A. So your answer will turn out to be 360. So the correct answer in this case, as we all know, is 360. But I hope this explanation is clear. I'm reiterating it again because sometimes it's not very intuitive. 720 means what? All ways of forming the word. So you might have formed a word like this also. You might have formed a word like this. Okay. You might have, and keeping everything same, you might have formed a word like this also. So whatever words that you're forming, there's always a case where A and E are flipped. For one word, there's always a second word, which is just the opposite of it. So you can say all the correct cases have been multiplied by 2, are occurring twice, and I don't need this one. So, and my total cases is 720. So if I want my correct case, that is simply going to be 720 by 2, which is 360. Okay. I hope it's clear, everyone. I'll look at the chat once and see if there's any query. Arpita says, can you please explain the A club scenario? Why can't we use the case again instead of considering them together? Arpita, okay, I'll come to that, Arpita, don't worry. Aruna says we can directly write it as 1, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means you're fixing 2 digits instead of 1. But where are we fixing it, Anirudh? Where are we fixing this A and E? What does 1, 1? I can understand that obviously it will be fixed in one ways, but where are we fixing it? We cannot fix it in the first 2 places, right? Diego says, does it affect the second approach if we have an even and odd number? I'm not sure what do you mean by that, even and odd number. From where did even and odd come? So no, don't worry. The number would be an even number. The number of cases would be divisible by 2. Don't worry about it. Okay, you won't get a 721 divided by 2. Okay, that's not going to happen. Okay. So I hope that answers your query. 33, no, so you might be missing some case, Chiranjeev, because there's no way you were using the same thing only. If you notice, you were doing the same thing. Let me go back and look at it. In your case also, see, you're getting 432, 432, 432 every time, and you're getting 5-4. So I'm sure you must have got a case like 3 times 432, 2 times 432, 1 times 432. So if you add it properly, you will end up getting 336. So you're making an addition mistake, Chiranjeev. Okay. Arpita, to come to your question, AE club together means they are always together. Okay. They're always together. So when you're forming a word, they are never separate. They are like this. Wherever you place them, you'll always place them together like this. But the question is not asking you whether A is to the immediate left of E or not. They're not asking you whether both of them are together or not. They're just saying A should be the left of E. That means anywhere left is fine. So if here A is to the left of E, right? And that's enough. It doesn't necessarily need to be together or close or immediate to the left of E. That is why we cannot use the approach that we of 120 to get the answer. Well, if it's to the, it just says left, the immediate left word is not used, then the best way is to find all the cases, infer that if A and E will get flipped every time, so half of the number of cases is something that you don't want, so you just divide it by 2 and you get your answer. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, when do we combine? As I told you, you combine it only when the word immediate left is given, then only you combine, otherwise you don't. Okay. No, Tejas, 6 factorial by 2 factorial means the same thing. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is 6 factorial. And 2 factorial means basically arranging A and E. That's absolutely correct. You'll get the same answer. No, 720 by 2. Okay. There is a repetition case, Rajavi, also. Don't worry. That will come to this. A repetition question also, if I remember correctly. We'll come to that. Okay, guys, I'm moving on to the next one. Next question. I hope it's clear. Most of it is clear. If there's still any doubt, put it in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to answer. But let's do one last question onwards. And I've added the poll also. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. If there's anyone else who want to put the response, please do so quickly. Change, there are two E's. I don't need to mention it, right? Because two E's are there. And I'm also saying by using the letters. So when you say using the letters, then you don't need to consider F a number of times, just to let you know. F is just one F. I'm using just those letters to form it. So the question would be framed in this way. If anyone is wondering if you have to use repetition or not, then no. When I say repetition, I mean you can use just whatever you have here. You cannot just take two G's or two F's or something like that. That's not going to work. What you have here, work with this because you're just using the letters of the word. That's all. Okay. Okay, guys, ending the poll now. So 66% of you think the answer should be C. That's a huge number. Can anyone tell me how you approach this question? What did you do to get the answer? What approach did you follow? Did anyone try and solve the question something like this? So you said, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8, 7, 6, 5, and there are two E's, divide by 2 factorial. Did anyone do something like this to get the answer? Or maybe you might have done this also, 7, 6, 5, 4 by 2 factorial, any of these. You can choose this. I'll mark this as A, I'll mark this as B. Which one did you do? If you did not do either of them, you can say neither. That's totally fine. But which one did you use to solve the question? Based on the answer options, I think most of you did A. And coincidentally, some of you might have even done this also because both at the end of the day gives the same answer of 840. But first place with 7 times, A, 7654. Okay, but why can't you form a word like this? Why are you doing 7654? I'm totally fine. I can frame a word like this. No, that's not a problem. I'm still using the words, the letters of the word freezing out here. Okay, so those of you did 7654, you just considered all the unique ones, which I can understand, but don't do that. Just keep in mind, if they say using the letters of the word, that means you need to use all of them. Okay, you need to use all the letters to frame the four-letter words. You're free to use whatever you want. So you can form words like FREE, REEZ, all these are all valid words. Okay, now those of you who did A, by the way, the answer is not 840, just to let you know, this is incorrect. Okay, those of you who did A, I'll tell you what the mistake is that you made. When you say 8765, that means you're considering all the possible ways of forming four-digit words using the word freezing. Now, and you're dividing all those cases by 2 factorial. Focus on the word all cases. You're dividing all cases. However, think, when you're forming a four-letter word using this, you might have formed a word like this, FREZ. Do we need to divide this by 2 factorial? These cases like FREZ or REZI, where none of the digits are repeating. I'll bring up the yes or no poll quickly. Tell me, do we need to divide these by, 2 factorial? Is it necessary? Do we need to do that? Guys, please listen to the question carefully before putting the answer in the polls, okay? Do we need to put, divide these by 2 factorial? Does it make sense to divide these by 2 factorial? I can understand when you're dividing 2 factorial for cases like these, okay? But for these, we don't need to. But you're doing a blanket division. You're dividing everything by 2, which is incorrect, right? Now, what is a trigger point? Think about it. What is the constraint here? What's the problem here? The problem here is that you could have a case where you have both the E's in the words that you're forming. There are 2 more letters in it, but the word that you're forming has 2 E's and something else. And in these such cases, you need to divide by 2 factorial, which is fine. But you could have cases where you don't need to divide it by 2, where when you have, all unique letters, F, R, E, Z, something like this, all unique. Okay. Yes, Rishi, it's clear. It should only be done when there are 2 E's present in it. So the moment you make this inference, now you draw this inference that you have to, you do divide by 2 factorial in this case, but you don't need to divide by 2 factorial in this case. That again is a trigger point that you should create cases and solve the question, because you don't know which to divide with 2 factorial. So to be able to understand when to divide, when not to divide, it's best to take case and solve the question. Okay. So what you can do is you can take case 1 and say, okay, let me take a case where all letters are unique. Okay, so all letters unique means F, R, E, Z, I, N, G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So either you can use filling space method, or this is the place where I'm going to use combination a bit to help you understand what we are doing. Remember, I told you combination is just selection, right? And permutation, you simply multiply. Selection plus arrangement. So if you do solve this by filling space method, you can simply say that there are 7 letters. The first place can be filled in 7 ways. This can be filled in 6 ways. This can be filled in 5 ways, and this can be filled in 4 ways. So if you use the filling space method to solve the question, you would be directly finding your answer like this, which is going to be, this itself is 840. Okay, now I'm going to show you another method here, and I'm showing you this because if you understand this properly, then you will be able to understand case 2 in a better way. Okay, another method is, remember I told you permutation is you do selection and arrangement, right? So what I would want you to do is first select, and you want to make 4-letter words, right? If you want to make 4-letter words, first select 4-letter words out of this 7. And you can do that using the formula NCR. N is the total that you have, total numbers, and R is the number of items that you're selecting. Okay. In this case, my total number of alphabets that I have is 7. So I would say 7, C, and R is the number of alphabets that I need. So I need 4 of them. So I would say 7C4. Okay. Now, those of you who are not aware of the formula of NCR, NCR is basically N factorial divided by R factorial times N minus R factorial. Okay, this is the formula. So 7C4 basically means 7 factorial divided by 4 factorial times 7 minus 4, which is 3 factorial. Okay. So I've done my selection. I've selected, selection is done. Now I need to arrange them. Now think about it. I've selected 4 letters. I'm reiterating that I've selected 4 letters and I have 4 spaces. In how many ways can I arrange 4 letters in 4 spaces? I can do that in 4, 3, 2, 1, 24 ways. So I'll say 4 factorial. Now, if you notice, if you try this out, you would see that the answer that you are getting is going to be the same. There is going to be no difference here. And in fact, let me show it to you also so that it's clear to you. 4 factorial gets cancelled out. 7 factorial is, again, I'm writing it now for the sake of writing it. There's a better way of writing it down, but let's do it in this way so that you get full clarity out here. Okay. Divided by 3 factorial is 6, 3, 2, 1. So notice 3, 2, 1 obviously gets cancelled out here and you are left with the same thing that you had here, 7, 6, 5, 4, okay, which is 840. Okay, now I'll tell you why I'm showing you this method when we talk about the second case. Just remember that to form a 4-letter word, I selected first and then arranged. Okay, now what is case 2? Case 1 was all letters were unique. The second case, which is troublesome for me, is that I have 2 E's and 2 distinct letters. Okay, this is the case. A case like which I was talking about, FREE, in which there are 2 E's and 2 distinct letters. Now, this 2 distinct letters could be anything. It could be FR, FZ, IN, whatever. Now, understand the difference here because this is tricky part. Now, why did I use filling space method here easily? Why did I say 7654 easily? Because I had all my alphabets with me. I knew which one I was going to use at each and every place. Okay, but to find out, to do the filling space method here of 4 digits, I don't know which 2 distinct letters to take. This hasn't been decided yet. Because it could be anything, as I told you, it could be FR, it could be IN, it could be IG, it could be FG. There are multiple possibilities. Obviously, I cannot manually keep on writing them, right? So what I'll do is I'll first select which 2 I want. Select the 2 I want. Okay. Now I'm already using the 2 E's. So what am I left with? FR. Let me write it separately. FRZING. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 options, and out of 6 options, I need 2 of them. Okay, so that can be done in 6C 2 ways. Okay, this helps me decide which 2 I want. The same way, the way I decided which 4 I wanted here, I'm deciding which 2 I want. Why am I just choosing 2 of them? Because I already know that I need to take 2 E's. Okay, so 6C2 helps me decide which 2 I want. Now I need to arrange them. So I'll say 4, 3, 2, 1. But since there are 2 E's, I would divide this whole thing by 2. Okay. So 6C2 is 6 factorial by 4 factorial times 2 factorial. And 4, 3, 2, 1 is 4 factorial upon 2. So 4 factorial will get cancelled out. I know the value of 6 factorial, so I'm writing it directly. And you have 720 divided by 4, which is 180. So you have 180 cases here, 840 cases here. If you add this up, you would get 1020. So the total number of 4-letter words that you can form using the word freezing is 1020. Is this part clear? There are a lot of things I discussed. I'll summarize it so that it's clear what you need to do. Whenever you get a question where you have more number of letters, okay, and you need to form a less letter word, like I had 7 letters, but I need to create words which are just 4-letter words, and there's something repeating. Now, if any of the alphabet is repeating out here, then obviously I would, while selecting the 4, I would not know what I'm choosing. That is my main problem. Like the one that I showed here, I don't know what to choose, when to choose. So dividing all by 2 factorial is incorrect. So this is an indicator that I need to create it. I need to create cases. Okay. What would be the cases? The first case would be where all letters would be unique, where you just take F, R, E, Z just once and find out using the filling space method. I also showed you the selection way because in the second case, you need to understand where you're taking two E's and two distinct. You have to be realize that you need to select which two you want to, place it in the four gaps. So first you select those two which you want out of the six, and then you arrange them to get your answer. Okay. Please let me know if this is clear or not. Let me bring up the yes or no poll. If this is clear, please mark yes, guys. This is like the most difficult that you can get in the exam. The only thing that you need to remember, recall to solve this question is if letters are repeating, you need to create cases. That's all. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, guys, I can see it's clear to most of you. I can still see about 10-15% saying no. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box, guys. I'll try to answer them. But in the meantime, let's come to the last question of the day, which is this one. Okay, and let me bring up the poll. Here's the poll, guys. In permutation combination, you can create a lot of questions. Okay, there's no end to complicate it. But if you get 3 E's, then you'll have to make more cases. Okay, one case again would be all of them distinct. The second case would be where there are only 2 E's. The third case you'll have to create where there are 3 E's. That is how you need to break it down. But the process remains the same. That's all you need to remember, that in those cases, you'll take 3 E's and 1 distinct. And then you'll have to choose which one distinct you want. So you have to remember it in this way. First case, all distinct. If there are 3 E's, I'll create a case where there are only 2 E's. I'll create a case where there are only 3 E's, and then solve the question. Okay. Okay, guys, last 30 seconds, and I'm going to end the poll. Though these are categorized as 650 level questions, 650, 700, if you know the approach of such questions, it will hardly take you, frankly, a minute to solve such questions. Okay, the answer for this one is, so far I have a mixed response, and it seems there's a lot of confusion in this one. Okay, I'm ending the poll now. Chiranjeev, the answer for the last question was 1020. I think we got 840 for the first case and 180 for the second one, if I remember correctly. Okay, guys, so I can see that there's a confusion between B and D. Some of you think the answer should be just 240. And I have some of you think it should be 1440. Come on, tell me your approach, guys. What did you do in this case? Did you, do 4 factorial times 3 factorial, something like this? Or something else, 4 factorial times 5 factorial? Or what approach did you use to get the answer? They just say 7C2, Mohit says filling spaces. Yeah, we have to use filling spaces, no doubt about it, but how? 7C2 is not correct. 7C2 basically means selecting 7 out of 2, okay? And also you need to ask yourself, you are arranging people in a row. So you have boys B1, B2, B3, and G1, G2, G3, G4. Ask yourself, the first thing which I talked about in the webinar was, will shuffling them change the result? Obviously, if I place girl 2 before girl 1, then this is a different arrangement, right? Again, I'm not talking about the question per se, I'm just talking in general. So arrangement of the girls would give you different answers. So this is not a combination question, this is a permutation question. And in permutation question, you can definitely use the filling space method to get the answer. Now, how you should go about doing it is pretty simple. There's one small learning that I would give you in this question that you can, so that you can help solve this question very easily. Always check on which the constraint is there. The constraint is on the boys, right? No two boys are sitting together. Are there any constraint on the girls? No constraint, right? So if there are no constraint on the girls, arrange them first. That should be a first goal. Arrange the girls first because there's no issues with how we want to place the girls. Now, I'm not sure what the name is, but T is saying group 1B and 1G unit. So some of you might have even done this. G1, B1, G2, B2, G3, B3, and G4, okay? Something like this. But keep in mind, you could also have a case like this, G1, G2, B1, G3, B2, G4, B3. So there could be a case where two girls are together, okay? So if you put it in an alternate way, alternately like this, you are making a mistake because you are not considering cases where the girls could also be together and the condition is still being satisfied that no two boys are sitting together. So this approach is cumbersome and it takes a lot of time. So kindly avoid it. Learn this thing that understand this thing that the girls don't have any constraint. So you can think in this way that there are four spaces for the girl. Girls would be standing in any of the four spaces, right? There would be four spaces for them. And there's no constraint on them. So I can make them sit in 4, 3, 2, and 1 way, right? Wherever they're sitting. Okay, they can arrange among themselves in 24 ways, right? Now, as far as the boys are concerned, think about it. Where would the boys sit or stand, whatever you want to say? Obviously, that the boys would be seated in between the girls or the gaps that are there between the girls. So the boys could be here, the boy 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 could be here. So think about it. How many spaces do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. Okay. So for the first boy, there are 5 options. Okay. There are 5 options. He can sit here or here or here or here or here. Okay. So now wherever he sits, let's say he sits here. For the second boy, how many options do I have? I have 4 options. So the second boy can sit in 4 ways. And once the second boy is seated, the third boy has 3 options. So the number of ways of arranging the boys is basically 5, 4, 3, which is 60. Now ask yourself, what should I do? 24. Obviously, good part is there's no 60 plus 24. So that gives you a hint that you need to, multiply. But you can understand in this way also that you have to make the girls sit and you also need to make sure that the boys sit. Obviously, this is not an and or scenario. Both of them need to be seated in the row. So, and the word and is also given. So that gives an indication that you need to multiply these two cases. So you would say 24 times 60, which would give you 1440. So the correct answer in this case is option D. Okay. So I hope it's clear, guys. The learning that you need to keep in mind here in this case is that if there's a restriction on the boy or girl, then make the girl sit first because there is no restriction on the girls. And once you've made the girls sit, look at the number of gaps that are there, and don't forget to count the gaps that are at the end also. Okay. That's a very good question that you have asked. See, as far as numbers and everything's are concerned, numbers, words, okay. When I say words, I mean letters, alphabets, whatever you want to call it. And usually whenever it comes to, putting things in groups, you take care of the constraint first. Okay, you take care of the constraint first, or you create cases which ensures that the constraint takes care of itself, like fixing 0 or fixing the letter A or fixing the letter B and all those stuff. Okay. And the second thing is like in arrangement in rows and columns obviously won't come. It will come in rows only, whether it's boys, girls, men, women, whatever. In this case, take care of the thing which doesn't have a constraint on it. This, if you can remember it in this way, you'll never make a mistake. Okay. Now Ramanan is asking me, we don't account for girls sitting together. Now that is where you are slightly wrong. Please keep in mind that we are taking that into account, because when I say the boys can sit in 5 ways. Let's say the boy one sits here. Okay. Boy two 4 ways. Now let's say the boy. So 5, 4, 3 considers all these cases, all possible ways of sitting. So there is a case like this also. No, boy one is sitting here, boy 2 is sitting here, and boy 3 is sitting here. This case will be considered because I'm considering all the 5 spaces. So effectively, what is this arrangement? Look at it. B1, G1, G2, B2, G3, B3, G4. Notice the two girls are together without any issues. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask. Anubhav, I'm not taking up that question at this point of time. Ramanan, please let me know if this is clear. Can we solve this by sitting? Okay, that is also a good question. Some people also do it in this way. They do 7 factorial. They find all the possible cases. And then what they do is they make the boys sit together. Okay, so what they do is they think of the boys as one entity, and they say that, okay, now I have 5 entities, 5 spaces. So some people end up doing 5 factorial times 3 factorial. These kind of things are done. The mistake here is, please keep in mind, is that you are just removing those cases where all 3 boys are together. So you're taking a case where G1, G2, G3, G4, B1, B2, B3. You're removing the cases where all 3 of them together. But there's another case that you need to remove. And that case is where 2 boys are together and one of them is not together. So if any one of you did this method or used this methodology to get the answer, then the mistake that you made was that you subtracted all boys together, but you did not subtract the case when 2 boys could be together also. So once you subtract both these cases, which is again cumbersome, essence, so I would not want you to do that. And this is pretty simple. Just simply remember in this way. In fact, let me go to the brand new slide. Think in this way, that there are 4 girls here. There are no restriction on the girls. So the 4 girls have 4 spaces for them. So you can fix them in 4, 3, 2, 1 ways, which is 24. Now the boys will be sitting in the gaps, right? They can be anywhere. They can be here, they can be here, they can be here, they can be here, they can be here. Any of these 5 spaces. Okay. So now you need to think, each boy B1, how many options does B1 have? B1 can sit in any of these 5 spaces. He has 5 options with him. So for the first boy, there are 5 options. He uses one of them. Obviously, he won't be sitting every place simultaneously. Now, there are 4 spaces left for the second boy. And once he occupies a place, there will be 3 spaces left for the third boy. So you multiply this, you get 60. And obviously, you need to make the boys and the girls sit together. So that would be 60 times 24, which is, whatever that answer is. So Rajavi, please let me know if this is clear or not. Ilyas, if this is clear or not. The thing that you need to remember is make the girls sit together and then put in the constraint of the boys. Any other questions, any other doubts, please feel free to ask regarding this question. Keep in mind that the difference between this question and the previous question, Chiranjeev, is that in that we had to use 4 letters. Okay. In this, out of 6, we had to use 4, or out of 7, we had to use 4. I don't remember the exact number, but we were taking lesser number of cases. Okay. In this case, the problem is that I have to use all of them. I have to use take all 7 people and make them sit together. So we cannot use that. And also that question, in that question, there's no restriction as such. Both the E's can definitely be together. Okay. In this case, the boys don't need to sit together. So those two are completely different kind of questions. So we cannot use, the previous thing out here or this method in the previous question. I hope that answers your query, Chiranjeev. Okay, guys, I have come to the end of this webinar. If you have any generic questions, any questions related to GMAT, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer. Or any questions related to this only, I don't have a problem. Okay, Mohit is asking how many PNC probability questions can one expect? Though obviously there's no fixed number as such, but 2 to 3 is what I would say is that you can look at. Some people, there are cases where some people got PNC question in the first 15 also. I know people who didn't get even a single one in the first 15, 20. So Very difficult to predict, but 2 to 3 is what I would say. T is asking me, sir, when do we use total minus at least one for not constraint related question? Now, see, you can use total minus the case altogether when you are when it's told that all the boys should not sit together. If you are given a question where in how many ways can all of these be arranged such that none of the boys are sitting together, then you find total cases and then you subtract the case where none are sitting together, and then you can get your answer. Okay. These cases are covered, by the way, all the possible cases where none sitting together, all sitting together. All of these have been covered in the peer permutation combination video lesson. So if you go through it, you'll be able to understand all the various cases. Don't worry about it. Okay, but I would request you to look at the video lesson of permutation combination. Okay. Nishad is asking, can we get the recording of this webinar? Okay, so as I told you that we usually upload these on our YouTube channel. So I'm sharing the link of our YouTube channel once. You can use that to, you can use that to watch the recording. I would recommend subscribing to it. That way you would get a notification whenever we upload the new video. Okay. I am also sharing the Calendly link once again, guys. If you like the webinar, if you're preparing for GMAT, and if you want to know how we can help you out, kindly book the session using the Calendly link that I've shared here, and we'll definitely help you out. Okay. So any other question? Let me see. You're welcome, Anne. You're welcome, P. Tara's asking. Tara, I've shared the YouTube link. I hope you can see it. Just kind of subscribe to it, and you will be able to get the notification whenever we upload it. So there are two questions. I'll take them one by one. One is, should we have any admission preference between R1 and R2? Well, if there's not a lot of difference between R1 and R2, okay, except for a few cases where people are worried about a lot of scholarships, then in that case you usually look at R1. But in my experience, the majority of the people usually apply during the round R2 also, so there's no problem as such. Ideally, if you don't want any scholarships or you're not worried about all those stuff, then you may even look at R3, but that's like a stretch. So the best is R1, but if you are not able to do that, you can still do it in R2. There's no problem at all. Chiranjeev is asking, how should I improve my timing? I'm always using more than 3 minutes. So Chiranjeev, as I told you, it's not only improving timing in difficult questions. You need to improve your timing in the easy and the medium questions also. So greater than 100, if you're taking 3 minutes, the only thing that you need to bring it down is to close to 2.5 minutes. Okay, you don't need to exactly bring it down to 2 minutes. Please understand this. What you need to do is ensure that whatever questions that are less than 700, like the easy questions or the medium questions, you learn to solve them in 1.5 to 2 minutes. In fact, easy ones should be able to solve even in 1 minute. Why I'm saying this is because you will save a lot of time out here. That time needs to be used in the 700 level questions. Also for 700 level questions, believe me, not for all 700 questions, you won't be taking 3+ minutes. There, if you do sufficient practice, if you practice properly using the question bank that you have, then you should not face any problem at all. Just make sure that you practice questions properly. You use the question bank as much as possible to work on your timing, which is very important. So if you're able to master, or if you're able to solve, if you're getting 10 700 level questions, think in this way. And if you're able to do even 50% of them in 2 minutes, and the remaining 50% in say 2.5 minutes also, that's not a problem, because the extra time that you need, you'll get from the 600 or 650 level questions, which you would be doing in 1.5 minutes. So it's not only about decreasing this time, it's important to you decrease the time here also. If you can do that, then and decreasing time here is much more easy than decreasing your time here, by the way. So work on this if you haven't worked yet here, and that should definitely help you out. Okay, Chiranjeev, just use the, you must have got the mentorship link, right? So we ideally suggest to book the call after every 15 days, but if you have your exam closer, very close, then you can book a session before that also. So you must have got a mentorship link. use that to book the session and let the mentor know, whoever your mentor is, that that you want to book a call and and discuss it with them. They will help you out definitely. Don't worry about it. In general, if your exam is far away, like 3 to 6 months, then only we suggest that you book a call with us every 15 days. Okay. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Okay, guys, I hope the session was fruitful. If you still have any questions, you can see the phone number and the email ID on the screen. Feel free to write to us and I will be able to help you out. Chiranjeev, we usually offer the mocks along with only with GMAT prep. So if you want to unlock the mocks, if you want to buy it separately, you'll have to write to support and they will help you out. So unlocking is only possible in two ways. Either you buy the mocks separately or you take the GMAT prep, where you are able to use all the mocks. So if you have access to both quant and verbal, you will be able to use all the mocks. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Change, if you have bought the whole package, then you should have access to all the mocks. If you don't have it, write to us. There we'll check at our end what's the issue. Ideally, you should be able to access all the mocks without any issues. But when you say rest of the mocks, I'm assuming you're talking about GMAT Quiz mocks only. If yes, then yes. If you have the whole package, you will be able to use all of them without any issues. Do check it once, by the way. I think you should be able to open all of them. If not, just send us a screenshot. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm ending the session now. If you have any questions, feel free to write to us on at this email ID, guys. Okay. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Bye.